contemporary opera can allow us to examine really complex and difficult subjects, arming the audience with a voyeurism. Angel's Bone is an opera being staged by Erivo. It tells the story of a couple in Middle America who are in a financial crisis, a relationship crisis, and two angels fall from heaven into their backyard. They are forced to make a decision about what to do with those angels.
Jay likes it rough.
A real mix of how we live our lives in private and how we live our lives in public.
Dorian and Royce Vavrek have created a narrative that deals with an incredibly difficult subject matter, but done so in a way that I think is so specific to what opera can do. Not only does it make the audience feel like they're witnessing this true act of violence that's happening in the moment, it allows us to actually sit with the victim and their experience of it in close-up and empathise with that person in the most remarkable way.
Paint circles, a sexual act.
In the simplest terms, I direct theatre like it's opera and I direct opera like it's theatre. I look for the operatic in the theatre works that I create, often infusing them with music, but I think visually I love the abstract canvas of opera and I think I bring that to my theatre. The truth of human action and placing an audience right in the centre of human drama that theatre does so gloriously, I aim to bring that to opera. So I see them as very complementary art forms that are deeply linked to one another, and I like to move between the two. Angel's Bone is an opera composed by Dorian with a libretto by Royce Vavrek. It's this mashup of genres. It ranges from Gregorian chant to sort of electronic music that is akin to Björk. There's this sort of interesting paradox at the centre of the opera because in one sense there's a supernatural element, there are angels in this piece, but on the other hand it's an allegory for human trafficking and sex trafficking. A lot of what Dorian is exploring in the opera is this idea of our kind of complicity within the presence of human trafficking and sex trafficking in society today. I think what's genius about the way that the opera is constructed is that the audience is made imaginatively complicit in making this story about angels real, and in doing so, the action that unfolds upon those angels within the narrative becomes intensely real to the audience, and that's where the kind of truth and meatiness and darkness of the opera really lands its punch.
I think it also asks us to look at the line when any kind of discretion or bad behaviour in private does become public, and when we suddenly as a society think that that's very acceptable. For this one, it looks at a lot of photography. I looked at a lot of horror films where it was about like a dark house on the inside, and then the opposite of that is if you're outside in the dark and you can see someone in a lit house at night, this kind of strange voyeuristic and foreboding feeling. I looked at lots of true crime documentaries and I really watched the Rose and Fred West documentary, and there was something about the everydayness of it that was so disconcerting. There was a normal house, and it was one of those houses that's sandwiched between other houses, like they share a wall with the house next door. All of these horrific things had happened in that house, but you couldn't tell from the outside. Everything was a normal neighbourhood, and everything was so kind of public and private at the same time.
This is the thing that we're slowly waking up to, is that we've had revealed to us recently with the Epstein files the prevalence of human trafficking and sex trafficking amongst a very powerful group of people. It's actually more widespread than that. It's actually happening in the suburbs, it's happening in the city, and it's happening behind closed doors. Really good, really good. I'll run a process where I'll get the actors to work on a scene and they have complete liberty to explore it like they're in a three-dimensional reality. And then I go, okay, camera's gonna go here, 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 here. It's gonna move here and it's gonna go here. There's something for whatever reason I can do quite quickly, but I do try and leave that as much as possible to the rehearsal room in order to respond to the truth the performers are generating.
I love being in the rehearsal room and being able to keep what happens in a show as live as possible and try and lock things down as late as possible, so we just make sure that it's the most appropriate to the show that you're working. So there's an immediacy to the thing that we're making, which I find always really thrilling. I found the hardest thing of this show is to conceptualize what an angel is or what an angel looks like. And still, I think I oscillate between what that might be and if that's a person or if that's an animal or what that might be in the context of this story. I feel like we've been talking about wings for about a year. We've been talking about it for a really long time. So it's about something that is secure enough for them to kind of crawl and get into the house, but then at the right time to be able to tear out all of the feathers that are on this wing, which ends up being thousands of feathers. We looked at lots of images of goose flesh and what that might mean and what kind of the skin under a chicken's feathers might look like.
I hate the taste of your kisses.
My advice always to emerging artists is to try and make as much as you can. As an artist, you only really become an artist by doing. And it's only in doing that you hone your voice and start to build a relationship with an audience that becomes an ongoing conversation and allows you to develop your voice as an artist. It is so thrilling to me to get to be staging the very first production in Europe of this remarkable new work. And it excites me as an opera maker, as an opera storyteller, about where we might be able to go with the art form.